session of the Grande City Council, Wednesday, February 2nd, 2022. A note that this session is being conducted virtually and is being live streamed to, I guess it's Eastern Oregon Alive TV and a Facebook page. I thought it might be going to our Facebook page, but it is not. With that, I'll ask for a roll call, please.
Steve Clemens.
Here.
Gary Lillard.
Here.
John Bozar.
Here.
David Glabe.
Here.
Nicole Howard.
Here.
Marianne Miesner.
Here.
And Justin Rock.
Here.
All right, everyone's present and accounted for. We have a consent agenda with one item, and I have heard that there is an edit to be made. So, Gary?
Yeah, top of page 4, there's a paragraph talking about the discussion that David and I had about the committee assignment, the alternate position, and I just think it identifies the wrong committee. It was the senior council rather than the one that's listed there.
Okay, good catch. Thank you. Anything else?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Anybody else have any comments on consent agenda minutes? If not, I'll entertain a motion for, let's just take that one item and approve it as amended. Do I have a motion?
I move that we accept the consent agenda as amended.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Steve Clemens.
Yes.
Gary Lillard.
Yes.
John Bozar.
Yes.
David Glabe.
Yes.
Nicole Howard.
Yes.
Marianne Miesner.
Yes.
And Justin Rock.
Yes.
Okay. Time in the meeting where we accept public comments. We have a written submission. Do you want to read that, Robert, or do you want to wait till the agenda item?
The written comments will be part of the Waste Pro agenda item, Mayor.
Okay, very good. And I think we have one call in, a reminder that comments are limited to 3 minutes. So, caller, Mr. Amer?
Yes.
Yes, you're on.
Okay. Yep. Hey, you kicked me off the budget committee, so I got some comments. Justin Rock, you've stated that you're going to run the city like a private enterprise. When I asked the budget committee why the building inspector's down at Safeway when he's supposed to be an inspection site, you had no comments about it. If someone wastes a half an hour a day, you got 120 employees at $37 an hour. That's $577,000 of lost productivity. Justin Rock, did you be concerned about that? And Justin Rock, why did you kick me off the committee? Mayor Clements, I asked you, what are you doing about controlling costs or lowering operating costs? You had no idea. Every year, your expenses are higher than your revenues. Mr. Strope has to underfund urban renewal to balance the budget. You told me that's a good question, but on the other side, you say, Greg Amer, you kicked off the budget committee. Gary Lillard, I asked Parks, not Parks, but Public Works, why they had to buy a full-size quad cab pickup for the street superintendent to drive around when he'd been using a Ford Ranger. Well, if you ask a question like that, Gary Lillard said, Greg Amer, get off the budget committee. Nicole Howard, listen to your goals. Champion public input, goal number 6. Who did you put back on the budget committee? You put someone back on there that asks no questions. What kind of input is that? Greg Amer, get off the budget committee. David Gabe, I asked you about why Parks needed a 3/4 ton pickup. You said, I don't understand towing. Parks has bought 7 new pickups in 10 years and has 2 3/4 ton pickups and 1 large mower, and they can't get the job done.
Hey, Greg, could I say something real quick?
Nope, I'm not through.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
And you put somebody on the budget committee, they have no business degree. They've never been to a city council meeting. They've never been to a work session. They've never been on a budget committee. And the reason to get on the budget committee is, well, I want to learn how the city operates. When I went to you, you told me to get on the budget committee, go to the budget committee classes put on by the state. I did. Guess who was there? The 14 people on the city budget committee, I'm the only one that took the class. So take your best shot.
Oh, just wanted to let you know, correct a little fact. I voted to put you on to the budget committee. So kind of a good idea to get your facts straight.
Well, you do. When the vote came up, you voted with the rest of them, and the only ones that voted not to adopt those was Bozart and Marianne Meisner.
Well, it seemed to me that that's what the majority of the council wanted, and the other people were certainly qualified. But point of fact, I did vote to have you on when we took our council vote, I voted to put you on the budget committee, okay?
Okay, thank you for your comment.
Mr. Kramer, yes, I did not vote you to go back on, and that's not me kicking you off of the budget committee, but that is my choice who I choose to go back on the budget. So I'm sorry if you disagree with me, but that is my decision. Secondly, coming at me about a gentleman stopping his Safeways and getting something to eat or drink, you know what? As a business owner, if one of my employees stop and grab something to drink and do it quickly and get to work and do their work, I have no problem with that. So for going around and watching what our employees are doing, I don't do that every day. They all are grown men and women, and they're going to do their job that they're supposed to. But I appreciate your time, and thank you for the comment.
Okay, Mr. Rock, thanks for taking the bait. I talked to the city gal that used to work at the building department. She was the secretary down there. She told me people would call in to get an inspection. She would call the building inspector on his cell phone. He would say, hey, stall him for a while. I'm busy. And it would sound like they're out at Walmart. So
Well, that's another situation right there, and that's not bait, sir. You asked me a question about a gentleman stopping and getting something to eat or drink on his way to a workshop. That is not our job to sit there and oversee every employee. That is the directors, and then goes down to city manager. So to come at me and state that I don't know what I'm talking about is a different thing. I do run a business, and I've done very successful with it. So if you want to, compare, that's fine. Let's go right ahead.
Right, Justin, thank you. Anybody else want to make a comment? All right, thank you very much, Mr. Amer. Any other public comments, Robert?
No, Mayor.
All right, we have no public hearings. We have no unfinished business. We have four items of new business. The first of which is to consider an approval of an increase in refuge collection fees. Robert, that's yours.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, and Darren Larvick is on the Zoom meeting and can answer questions and provide additional information if needed. So in your packet, you have a resolution. You also have a letter from Waste Pro that identifies the basis for needing to make this increase. Waste Pro has been, I think, very conservative with their requests for increases over the years. I think they had one in 2016. I think the next one was in 2018. They did have a request for a fuel escalator a few years ago when gas prices were significantly high. This reflects a 12% increase. One of the things in your resolution that is a tiny bit confusing is the resolution that was adopted in 2018 was inclusive of the franchise fee. The franchise fee with Waste Pro was renewed in 2019, and the franchise fee increased to 7%, which they've been paying since then. But we do, as part of their resolution, show the rates as with the franchise fee included in it. So that's why if you were to try to take, 12% of the 24.35, you don't get the 28.40 that's reflected for the weekly garbage service. And if you look at their letter, they're showing that the current weekly fee is 25.35, not the 24.35 that's shown. That's because that has the franchise fee built into it. So just wanted to make sure anybody that was looking closely at the numbers understood why there was that small difference. But they were collecting the right-of-way license fee once that was enacted. And then when we updated the franchise, it rolled the full 7% into the franchise fee and is reflected in that resolution. So that's the little bit of a numbers thing. And I'm sure Darren would be happy to answer any questions that you have. Any questions for me regarding any of these pieces?
Questions for Robert on anything? The summary of the rates and the letter that came from Wasteboro.
And we probably should, before we open up to council discussion, do the one email that we got that Stacy can read to the council.
Okay, so let's have that. Stacy, could you read that for us, please?
Okay. I have a letter here submitted from Joy Cleaver. Hello, I hope you will not allow increase for the following reasons. All of us are having to pay the high fuel costs and get no breaks. Waste Pro doesn't even offer curb services for basic things available to residents in other communities on the other side of our state. For example, glass and metal are bi-weekly picked up at the curb. It is part of their monthly fee. Also, fall leaves are collected 2 to 3 times in the fall at the curb, and that becomes part of their composting program, and this is at no charge to residents. Vista was granted a rate increase, and that has accounted for over half of the natural gas bill for me, and that bill has doubled twice in 2 months. Consumers are getting no breaks anywhere as food costs are significantly increased. City water costs have gone up, and we get no better service for that either. Just feels like residents keep paying more and more costs for services and utilities with no better services or increased services. So that all said, I would urge the Grande Council to deny the rate increase. Sincerely, Joy Cleaver. And that is all I have.
Okay, thank you. Question for Robert or for Darren?
I might have a question for Darren. Having
Hey,
listened to, I have wondered at times myself what concern or problem is with collecting glass items. It certainly is important to recycle, and I'm aware you can take them down to the center on Willow, but that's not all convenient. What's the situation with that?
So glass, since we pick it up in a commingle situation, when the glass goes into the truck, and I cannot think of any communities left in Oregon that picks up glass in the carts because once it's broken and is scrubbed into the fiber, the paper. So paper is by far the most valuable of all the products. And once it gets scrubbed into the paper, there's no paper mill will take it. They do not want silica or sharp abrasive materials mixed in through the sorting program. And the way it gets into paper, of course, it makes it of zero value. And one of the I see in the future, I can't say that today, but in the future, as you may be aware, there was a bill that was passed that that will send more money to rural communities. We'll be one of those people that, or one of those groups that will be receiving that money. They'll help support the rural areas to be able to move glass to market. As glass is a very heavy commodity, and so you can put very little of it on a truck to get it to market. So we have to keep it sorted and down at Willow where we can keep it clean and move it efficiently. I don't see it in the future, but it will probably never be in the cart glass accepted because of the contamination.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Darren, along those lines, I had not heard about this money from the state, but maybe you could talk very briefly about what it would be used for, and then follow up. What is the possibility of curbside collection of glass at some point in the future? Or is it just the weight factor not going to make it feasible for you to do that?
It's definitely possible. Once again, it's an economic situation. We're so far away from markets on the far end of the state, and we don't have the transportation costs are high. Corning is having trouble to keeping their clean air issues, as you probably know, that's in Portland, and so they're also very under a lot of stress to get materials in. It's not a great time for glass right now. It doesn't mean it doesn't have a value. I agree with you. I think that, or I agree with myself. How about that? I think that glass does need to get back to market. Is it going to happen today? No, it's not. With this money, and I'll get to it back. I can't remember the House bill is now. It was passed, and the idea was to support the rural communities. It's going to be really real dollars that not only cities can apply for, but also those that supply the services to the city, which is ourselves. So there's money for new containers, offset transportation costs. You can actually receive money for that, and even trucks. That's what I've been told. I am visiting with those committee members, and I've been asked to sit on it. I have been dragging my feet a bit. So it's a long ways over there to participate. But anyway, so that is that. When that happens, if they can offset some of the costs, then we could see that being realistic. I just don't. I don't think it's fair to ask the community members to come up with that kind of money to move a small commodity. It's really heavy, but volume wise, it's very low to move that material clear to Portland. We do have an outlet for it now as an alternative. It does have a use, and it's not at the highest use, but it does have a use, and it's that's where I'm at with it.
Okay, all right, Marianne, I see you have your hands up.
Yes, I was wondering, Darren, I saw that on your examples of your current request, you're talking about weekly garbage and when every other week of yard we are recycling. Now, we have 1 week is garbage and 1 week is recycling, and I know several people that do that. How is that reflected on this?
Okay, I just give you an example. If you were to make sure I understand correctly. So I sent a letter with an example on it, but then in the resolution, you can see the different rates. Is that what you're asking? I want to make sure we're clear.
No, I think so, because I didn't see it down there where I could understand that what the rate would be for once a week for garbage, or every other week.
Every other week for garbage is going to be $23.65.
But it doesn't say anything about the recycling.
I'm sorry. So we include that in the rate. We do not do a line item on the billing for the customer because we are required to provide service in the city. So
Okay.
that is inclusive. I just want to, I guess that is confusing. I see what you're saying, that in one document, I lined out which of the services are for that money, and actually in the resolution, it doesn't. But yes, those services are still provided in that rate.
So that every other week garbage services, automatically the other week is the recycling.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, if you look at the resolution under roll carts, it reads, every other week curbside recycling service with, and then below that it says with weekly garbage service with every other week garbage service. So it is reflected on the resolution that those do include the recycling in those dollar amounts.
Wait, Robert, I'm not sure what page are you looking at?
If you take a look at the resolution on the first page,
Okay,
if you look under paragraph A, where it says roll carts, separate carts for solid waste and commingled recycling, directly under that you see the number 1, and it says every other week curbside recycling service with, and then it lists the garbage costs.
okay, I guess I missed that part. Thank you, because I thought, well, I thought they were leaving one off, or maybe they changed it and they weren't doing it anymore. Every other week. Okay.
All right, any other questions? Okay, I'll entertain a motion then for this action item.
Mayor, do you want, doesn't Sandra need to read something?
At this point, I just need a motion.
Okay, sorry, I must have messed that up on my minute.
I move that the proposed resolution increasing fees for refuse collection by Waste Pro be read by title only, put to a vote and passed.
Second.
All right, so we have a motion from John and a second from Gary. Any other comments?
Just one, Mr. Mayor.
Sure.
You know, they mentioned about a 12.5% increase, whatever that figure was. We really do need to increase these fees on an annual basis to eliminate that. You know, the big increase all the time. Darren, are you good for that?
I definitely, I talked to Robert about it. It's just that we did not have the time. I agree 100%. Let me tell you why this is done this way. The city, the Baker landfill had increased our rates significantly quickly within a month, and the county had to go back out for bid. And then we did not have, Robert and I made the point, we do not have time to change the franchise to accommodate that. But I agree, it would be nice if we could do a very small increase because like Baker landfill is talking about 5% every year for a while.
That's, John, that's a good question because in Darren's, I think in Darren's note, there was some reference to that, the ability to,
There was.
To tie in annual increases to CPI. Robert, is that something that's possible, or should we come back to that at some other point, or what would work best?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. The specific language that's in the franchise would preclude that because it requires the city council to approve every increase. And so we would actually have to amend the franchise agreement to include some language that would allow for that type of an action by the council. And again, to change the franchise, that's an ordinance with 2 readings that we would have to go through.
Gotcha.
So Darren and I will work on some language to do that so that we can, in fact, approach this from a kind of a CPI piece, or to do it in such a way that maybe we do a resolution that covers the next year or 2 or 3, but that's a franchise language adjustment we have to make.
Okay, John, I see your hands up.
Yeah, thanks, Steve. I don't mean it to be an automatic increase every year, by no means. It should still come before the council, but do it annually.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So we have a motion and a second. I'll ask for roll call vote, please.
Steve Clemens.
Hold on a second.
We need to read
the title first.
Okay. A resolution of the City Council of the City of LaGrande, Union County, Oregon, adopting a household hazardous waste program, authorizing a commingle curbside recycling program, establishing fees for various refuge collection services, including a fuel cost escalator, and repealing resolution number 4772, series 2018, all other resolutions or parts of resolutions in conflict with herewith.
Okay, we've had a reading of the resolution by title only, and we have a motion and a second. Now I'll ask for a vote, please.
Steve Clemens,
Yes.
Gary Lillard,
Yes.
John Bozard,
Yes.
David Glabe,
Yes.
Nicole Howard,
Yes.
Marianne Meisner,
Yes.
and Justin Rock.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Second item, new business, approving a social gaming permit application for a business called the Grande Poker Room. And that is Chief Bell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and good evening, city councilors. We have a local individual, Jacob Brown, who has applied for a permit to operate social games here in LaGrande. The social games will be conducted at a business by the name of Grande Poker Room. And it's actually in the council action form. I see upon review tonight that it says 511 First Street. The actual address is 211 First Street. So that is a typo. here in LeGrand. Mr. Brown is requesting 3 tables, and he has paid the non-refundable fee. The cost for the tables would be at this point in the year would be at the half rate or the 1/2 rate fee since we're past January 1, according to city ordinance. We have a 1992 city ordinance and a resolution that the city council passed last year that outline the penalties and regulations for social gaming in LeGrand. The applicant, Mr. Brown, has met all of the city's application requirements and passed a background check conducted by me personally. He is the sole owner and operator of the business and has been supplied with the city ordinance and the resolution, which outlines the regulations for social gaming in LeGrand. You, as the city council, have the authorization to approve this permit for the first year, and then I, as your chief of police, will approve annual permits thereafter. And any violations of city ordinance related to social gaming can be revoked by me in my office. The permits are valid from July 1 to June 30th of each year. Do you have any questions for me?
Yes, Gary, go ahead.
Yeah, Chief, it occurs to me that we approved another one of these, I don't know, it's fairly recently, within the past couple of years or so, probably. I'm assuming this is a different one?
Yeah, this is a new, I'm not aware of that one, Counselor, but this is a new application.
Okay, so apparently the other one is not currently functioning.
Yeah, I'm not aware of another social gaming permit that we have that's occurring right now.
Okay.
Gary, I think you're thinking of when we updated the resolution to change the fees for the table.
I may be, yeah. I think that was
it was the same individual that had requested the change be made in order for him to be able to do the business the way that he was envisioning. So we changed the resolution at that point in time, but he wasn't ready at that point to actually apply for the permit because he still needed to close on the business and do some other things.
Okay, yeah, I think that's correct. I remember that now. You know, I guess the only thing that I would say, and I think I said it back then too, is that having been a drug alcohol counselor, among other things in my past, I have concerns about gambling and the addiction problems that come with it. I did a little research on the most recent data. Most recent I could find was from 2019. It indicated that in the state of Oregon, problems with gambling, addiction, and so forth, related behaviors, we rank number 8 in the nation in terms of the prevalence of those difficulties. When it comes to treatment, things we can do to help alleviate those things, we're somewhere around middle of the pack, nationally speaking. So, you know, I just have to put it out there, the concerns that I have with so-called social gambling, the problems it creates for individuals and families in too many instances, I think are well documented.
Thanks, Gary.
Thank you.
Dave?
I think I'm going to follow Gary on that. You know, we've got billboards around town advertising help for gambling addiction here. I'm not fond of promoting that industry here in town. I know the last time the gentleman in question was quick to point out that social gaming is different than gambling, but this is clearly a poker hall is what we're voting to, you know, approve a license for here. So by most definitions, social gaming is a nice way of saying gambling.
Okay, thank you. Gary, your hand is still up.
Yeah, it's a mistake. I'll take it down.
Okay, I see that Jacob has logged in. We are at a point where we could take public testimony. So I would entertain some comments from Jacob on this action form.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, yeah, a couple of things. I'm all ready to be opened up. Hopefully, we'll be opened up this weekend if this passes. To I think it was Mr. Lillard's comment about addiction and whatnot. Actually, some of the dealers I have working with me are actually drug and addiction recovery specialists, and so I would just say to that. We understand what to look for. And as I said the last time, this is a little different situation in terms of gambling, like with a machine or, a game of blackjack where the house odds are always against you, or a machine won't ever tell you no, or we can't. This is a social atmosphere. It's as much as a fun place to come down with other people and stuff. And it's not necessarily that you're, it's not that you're gambling, with no consequence or no one to tell you to stop. Like there's a social element to it that I think is missing from some other forms of gambling.
Okay. Thanks, Dave. Thanks, Jacob.
Yep.
Any other questions or discussion? Questions for Chief Bell or Robert? Go ahead, Marianne.
Do we have a limit on how many of these particular places or establishments could be opened in LeGrand? Do we have a limit?
Not that I'm aware of, Counselor.
Okay.
That opens a question for me: is how many places in LeGrand do we now have for social gambling?
Are you talking about
If you're asking me, I don't know.
Okay, yeah, that was.
I'm aware.
That was sorry, Jacob. That question was for Chief Bell.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not aware of another establishment right now, Mr. Mayor. We have had some in the past. It's been some time. It's not entirely the same by definition, but we have a number of establishments that have Oregon Lottery in them, but I'm not aware of any actual social games that are going on. I believe this is the only permit that you're considering now that would be someone that would be authorized to be doing it in LeGrand. I might add also, it wasn't part of your question, Mr. Mayor, but I think it is important, and Jacob is here and he is aware, but I think that the importance is to adhere to the regulations that we have embodied in city ordinance and those rules that are established. And that's really what differentiates. And quite frankly, if adherence is not in line with our city ordinance, then it becomes illegal gambling because it's not legal in the state of Oregon to gamble. And so there are some very, it's not unprecedented without controversy in the state of Oregon. But I think the key is that they just need to run a tight ship and follow the rules.
Okay, thank you. Anything else, Marianne?
Chief, do you know, are you going to be able to monitor that at all though?
Well, at this point, I would say yes. Jake and I have spoken, and we can speak some more. But I mean, we don't intend on policing it on a regular basis. Each evening that they're open, it would be much like we do a lot of other things. We would respond to complaints, and if we hear that there's things that are going on in violation of city ordinance, then the first thing we would do is contact Jacob, and we would take a look at that. And really, the burden is on him because we can revoke this permit, if we learn that there's violations that are going on.
All right.
Thank you.
Anything else? If not,
I'll say something quick to what Chief Bell just said. Obviously, I'm here before you guys because of the stigma of poker and, this idea that's illegal or these backroom seedy locations. I've done everything that I can above board and by the books so that we can open a place that's reputable and I think would be a huge benefit to LeGrand. The response I've gotten on Facebook and other marketing has been outstanding. Right now, I'm almost completely booked up for the whole first weekend to be opened up. And like I said, I'm here before you guys because I do want this place to be reputable, to be above board, and And that's what it will be. So,
Okay, good. Thank you, Jacob.
yep.
Jacob, could you tell me how many people could be in there at a time? Is it
Go
five
ahead.
people?
Well, so I signed up, or not signed up, I applied for 3 tables, which would allow for 27 people. I don't suspect I will need 3 tables like throughout the year. I got 3 for my opening weekend to support maybe a tournament allowing 27 people. I would guess, though, that once things die down, it would probably be more like a table worth of people, so 9 players or something like that. But people that would be allowed to play poker, my maximum would be 27 seats.
Thank you.
Yep.
Right. Any other questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion for this action item. Anyone?
I move that the city district manager wrong
one.
I went down too far. Okay. I move that the social gaming license application for the Grande Poker Room be approved and signed by the mayor.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Marianne made the motion. Nicole made the second. Any other discussion? Can I have a roll call vote, please?
Steve Clemens,
Yes.
Gary Lillard,
No.
John Bozart,
Yes.
David Glabe,
No.
Nicole Howard,
Yes.
Marianne Meisner,
Yes.
and Justin Rock.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Moving on to the third item of new business, and that's adopting the retreat summary and the city/district manager's top priorities for fiscal year 2022. Just as a quick preface, last week, Monday and Tuesday, City Council and the Urban Renewal Agency met to go over goals and priorities for the coming year. And what will be presented next is a summary of those goals and priorities, and they will subsequently direct the city manager and department directors on how to prepare budget for the coming year and what kind of actions they need to be looking at. So with that, Robert.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. So in your packet, you have the retreat summary. And as the mayor described, we did this for 2 evenings. One was economic development, which you'll see at the March Urban Renewal Agency meeting. The color code on this is the writing in red is just kind of a brief summary of what we talked about to try to capture the essence so that we have that. And then the packet went out along with the revised draft top priorities. I did not hear any feedback from anybody about any specific language changes. So I think what I'll do is, because people at home can't see this, I'll go ahead and read the top priorities. And if there are any comments about the language on these or anything related to the summary, we can circle back. So the city/district manager's top priorities for fiscal year 2022 and 2023. And I did kind of reorder this a little bit, even though they're not necessarily in priority order, but I think they kind of flow a little bit better. The first one is the American Rescue Plan Act funding, and to develop a recommended list of potential uses and/or projects for the city's ARPA funds to maximize the use of the funds for the city council consideration. The next one is street and road infrastructure. Develop recommendations for long-term strategy to address the condition of infrastructure to include potential funding options for city council considerations with the intent of implementing the strategy upon approval. The next one is housing. Implement the comprehensive housing production strategy as adopted by the city council. Next is economic development. continue to implement the urban renewal plan and economic development strategies approved by the city council / urban renewal agency. Staffing, take necessary actions to address critical staffing issues, including but not limited to hard to fill positions and succession planning for key positions. Fiscal management, continue to manage the city's finances within limited resources to provide highest possible level of service to the city of LeGrand. General fund capital improvements, identify funding sources and strategy to address major capital needs. FEMA maps and land use code amendments, complete the submittal to FEMA requesting the city's floodplain maps be updated and respond to any requirements as needed throughout the process, and complete the revisions and adoption of the city land use codes as necessary once we get the maps back. I added once we get the maps back. And then finally, wildland urban interface, in concert with Union County and other agencies, take actions to assure the Grande is prepared in the event of wildfire or other natural disaster, such as the ones that devastated other communities in Oregon in 2020. So that's the draft priorities. There are a couple that I needed to create some wording for that I think captures the intent of the council, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
John, go ahead.
Thanks, Steve. Robert, on staffing, and the succession planning, whatever, can you elaborate a little bit on when you talk about current members of city staff are interested in pursuing the position and how they could become better trained? What exactly are you going better trained?
Yeah, so one good example of that is, let's say that we have a department director who has interest in, a few years when I retire, wanting to be the city manager. Some of the things that we can do to help them be more prepared for that is potentially doing some job shadowing of other directors. There is specifically a 3-year program that I'm familiar with. It's the Northwest Community Development Institute. It's a 3-year program where you spend 1 week each year learning about community and economic development, which is a really good training platform. Another thing is to attend and participate in the Oregon City Managers Association annual conference, and we also do a regional meeting that has a lot of good training sessions that talk about city management specifically. So those are, I've given you some of the more formal ones. And then also just taking a look at the individual's specific skill set and seeing if there are any specific areas where they haven't had opportunities to really do things that are part of this job. Most of our directors have no experience in labor negotiations, as an example.
So are there any additional costs connected with some of this training?
There could be, and that would be things that we would cover as part of their training budget. So when we would look at, for example, that week-long course, that's a specific, that there's travel involved with that. There is the cost of that training. That would be something that we would have to budget for.
Right. Any other questions for Robert? Robert, any public input on this?
No, Mayor, thank you.
All righty. Council discussion? Barry?
Yeah, Steve, were we going to have any more discussion about the urban renewal, the under levy in particular this evening, or would that be better for some kind of a work session maybe?
I thought that was going to be planned as a work session, Robert.
So a couple of things. The first is we'll be putting out the notice of intent to under levy. It has to go out, I think, by the 17th. So absent direction from the city council saying, no, we are absolutely not going to do an under levy, we will do that notice of intent to under levy. And all that does is it tells the taxing jurisdictions that we're intending to do an under levy. And I use the capital expenditures that we talked about at the retreat as kind of the helpful math that I need to do to tell them what we think those numbers are going to be. And then what happens subsequent to that is we'll have our meeting on the economic development strategy. We'll talk about urban renewal projects specifically, which goes into that equation, because what we want to spend on urban renewal really drives the under levy. The way we do it is we fund what we want to fund in urban renewal, levy taxes to support the budget to make that happen, and then under levy the rest. And so we'll talk about it when we do the economic development strategy a bit, and then we'll talk about it again as part of the budget committee when we actually look at and approve the proposed budget, which includes the property tax amount. And then you talk about it again the next night when you're talking about the city's budget. And then ultimately, when the Urban Renewal Agency adopts the budget itself in June, that then determines whether or not there is going to, in fact, be an under levy and what the exact amount is. And so there's a number of junctures where we'll talk in more detail about the under levy piece. So hope that answered your question.
Yeah, I think so. My feeling is that the time frame here is too short to pull the rug out from under anybody, but I definitely think that we need to have some future discussion. It just, as I've said before, it seems to me like we've lost our focus a little bit on what the intent and the goal of urban renewal is, as well as the fact that it can be potentially very helpful to our general fund tax base. So yeah, I'll be looking forward to that.
Yeah, and also, even though it's not urban renewal specific tonight, one of the work sessions that we do plan to have is kind of the long-term intent for urban renewal. So that's also on the docket for the coming year.
All right, any other questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion for this agenda item.
Move that the city district manager's top priorities for fiscal year 2022-2023 as discussed during the annual council retreat on January 25th, 2022, and outlined on the attached city council retreat summary be adopted as presented.
Second.
All right. We have a motion and a second. Dave made the motion, John seconded. Any additional conversation? Roll call, please.
Steve Clemens,
Yes.
Gary Lillard,
Yes.
John Bozar,
Yes.
David Glabe,
Yes.
Nicole Howard,
Yes.
Marianne Meisner,
Yes.
and Justin Rock.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Right. Fourth and final element of new business is appointment to the Arts Commission. So the Arts Commission has 7 members. There are 4 vacancies, and we have 1 applicant to get back on, which would give this group a quorum of 4. So I'm going to move that Corey Peak be appointed to the Arts Commission for the remainder of a 3-year term, which expires December 31st, 2024.
Second.
Any discussion? Gary?
No, I'm fine.
All right. So have a roll call vote, please.
Steve Clemens,
Yes?
Gary Lillard,
Yes.
John Bozar,
Yes.
David Glabe,
Yes.
Nicole Howard,
Yes.
Marianne Meisner,
Yes.
and Justin Rock.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right. Next up on the meeting agenda is Union County Commissioners update. And I see Commissioner Scarfo is here. So take it away, Matt.
Yes, good evening, Mayor and City Councilors. Hopefully this is maybe my last COVID update. Fingers are crossed, but we did see a massive uptick in our cases here in Union County. In January, we had 1,113 cases, which is nearly doubled our case numbers. Last highest month was in August, and I believe it was over 600. But on a lighter note, I got a report on Monday from our emergency manager that we have 0 hospitalizations of COVID right now. So knock on wood, and hopefully that continues. I do want to have thank the National Guard for helping out with our hospital. I know we lost, a lot of employees due to the vaccine mandate, but now we're facing a lot of employees having COVID. So the National Guard has really stepped up, and they're doing a fantastic job for us. And I just wanted to give a little shout out for that. The other things that are happening right now is the short session in Salem started yesterday. There are a lot of bills that are going on as we speak. And short session used to be just a touch up on the regular session. Now it's almost like they're trying to cram as many bills in a shorter amount of period. So I'll be heading over early next week to Salem. Association of Oregon Counties is having their monthly meetings, and it's also in conjunction with the Oregon Fairs Association. So my homework assignment is to go over there and try to find us a carnival for the fair or something of the like, and hopefully I can. And then also I'll swing by some of the legislator offices and talk about bills and the like on that. But if there are any bills that are concerned to you, pro, con, please let me know, and we will talk to Rep. Levy or Senator Hansel on that. And with that, I believe that's all I have. Are there any questions for me?
Questions for Matt? I have one question, Matt. I see a little bit of activity going on over at the fairgrounds. Looks like they're surveying some lines and painting roads. Did you guys get funding to connect the fairgrounds to city sewer?
I wish we did, but
Okay.
no, there's a few other things that we're doing. We're getting prepared, and hopefully we can get some funding. Infrastructure money's floating around. We're working our tail off to do that. I'm not giving up on that at all. The $10 million that was awarded in the regular session has been voted to be equally spread between 36 counties and the state fair. So that's only about $270,270 or something like that, which I know we need about 2 million. So hopefully there'll be some matching funds or something that we could work on this, because we really do need that sewer project funded.
Yep. Well, good luck with that. I saw some survey equipment out there, and it looked like they had marked the roads for excavation. So I also noticed they tore down one of the restrooms there. So
well, yeah, why not when they don't work anyway?
yeah, exactly. So, all right, thanks for that. Any questions for Matt? All right, Matt, have a good night.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, staff comments. Anybody from staff want to step up? No. All right. What about city manager comments?
Yeah, the only thing I just wanted to remind the council with the approval of the draft priorities and the summary for the city retreat, I'll be sending that to the budget committee so that they can see what that looks like as well. We do have the Urban Rural Advisory Commission meeting scheduled so that we can take a look at some policy revisions for call for projects that you'll see as the agency in March. And that's all I wanted to touch on.
All right. Let me see here. Where are we? Am I still muted? Nope, I'm good. I'm going to take you in order that I see you. Gary.
Nothing tonight. Thank you.
All right. Mary Ann.
Nothing tonight either.
Okay, thanks. Dave. Okay, Justin.
No, I'm good. Thank you, Steve.
All right, John.
No, I'm good. Thanks.
Okay, Nicole. The only thing that I have really is just the announcement to petitions are being taken out for city council positions. And I wanted to let people know that I will not be taking one out for mayor. I think 4 terms is plenty enough at this point for me. And I'm looking forward to a little bit of relaxation, though I have some things in mind, maybe getting back involved with city commissions or other organizations in the community. But just wanted to let people know. Gary?
Yeah, I suppose maybe since you've done that, I should follow suit and let people know that I am also not planning on standing for re-election. This is my 20th year on the council. Prior to that, I spent 2 full terms on the planning commission. So as I had told you and Robert, I think 28 years is enough.
Very good. John?
Yeah, I'm also not taking out a petition.
All right. So
Too damn
there's
old.
3 vacancies on the council, and it's up for grabs. With that, I will adjourn our meeting and wish you all a good evening, good night. And Robert, I'll talk to you, I think, about schedules for work sessions and regular sessions.
Yeah, we've got a draft calendar put together.
Okay, excellent. Very good.
Thank you.
All right, take care, y'all.
Good night.